Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitch, and the Prepper Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is October the 16th, 2022, and this is episode 186 of the Workshop Podcast. And I'm recording this intro after the interview. Just had a great conversation with Dane D from the Gunmetal Armory, all about lockpicking. We just scratched the surface. He will most definitely be back. But before we dive into tonight's conversation, let's get the announcements out of the way. Number one, if you are a Telegram user, or even if you aren't, but you want to be an active member of the workshop community, that is the best place to go. We actually live stream the podcast over there as well, so you can watch it, comment on it. But honestly, it's just all about conversation, and quite possibly we get into debates on what a true old-fashioned is, whether beans belong in chili and all of that. But if you really want a place to interact as a community, have your questions answered, or answer other people's questions, grab that link in the description and come by and join us in the Telegram group. Number two, if you guys saw a couple of weeks ago, I launched the Workshop Silver Rounds. It was a resounding success. They were sold out before I left Self-Reliance Festival. Now, there was enough interest in them that Brian from the Lots Project, he also did a half order with me. We went in together, that we were going to do a second run of them. This is going to be a slightly different design, so the original coins will always be the original. They're dated with 22 on the back, and they will be the only ones from the first run with that design. But we are doing a new inverted design for this year because there's enough interest. Same price, $75 for a 1 ounce and a half ounce coin. They come with certificates of authenticity, pure silver. I'm excited. So if you'd like to get on the waiting list, let me know and I will add you. There's also a discount for Patch of the Month Club members. And that is announcement number 3, value for value exchange. If you want to support what I do here, the easiest and simplest way to do it is to sign up for the Patch of the Month Club. And it's not just a way to give away free money. It's a way to get a really cool, politically incorrect patch every single month, something that you can hang with pride on your over-the-shoulder tactical carry bag, as I like to call it, your wallet, your water bottles, your hats, your shirts, your jackets, whatever. So if you're interested, go to patchofthemonth.co and sign up. And today's tool, Aaron from the Two Chicks Homestead podcast asked me earlier today what webcam I use for streaming. And I guess the cheapest one available wasn't the proper answer, but that's honestly what I use. I have really good luck. There's a ton of them. They kind of run in that $20 to $25 range on Amazon. This one I have is the Tululu brand webcam. Link will be in the description. It's right now at about $21 on Amazon. It works great. I have 2 of them, and I've never had any issues with quality problems. That's the thing, guys. When you get started making content, start with what you can afford and upgrade as you go. But don't let it get in your way. So today's tool is the Tululu brand webcam. There's a bunch of other brands, all the same on Amazon, but they work great. So without further ado, let's jump into the great conversation I had. I did mostly listening, but it was awesome. With Dane D from the Gunmetal Armory talking all about lockpicking. If your guys' pre-show questions are indication enough, we are in for a good show. I've got Dane D here from the Gunmetal Armory. How are you, Dane?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Very, very good. We got Dane's just on audio this evening, guys, but he can see all the texts, all the questions you send through. We're going to work our way through, and yeah. So, who are you, Dane? Where'd you come from?
I'm just your average guy, man. Basically, I grew up in Arizona. I grew up doing the shooting and the outdoor stuff, and moved out to Oregon for a little while, spent some time out there, and then my home was Arizona, so I came back to Arizona, and I was I've always worked retail, my whole life. I kind of worked retail and did jobs there. I worked security quite a few times, in my younger years. Did some bouncing stuff like that. Yeah. And then from there, I had a real passion for firearms. So I went into the gunsmithing program at a local college,
Cool.
and I just absolutely loved it, man. I just ate it up, dude. So, spent about 3-4 years there, and learned everything I could, and then went directly into working as a gunsmith for myself and for other various companies. I think I've worked at every gun shop here in town,
Nice.
and a few that aren't in town. I also have been writing articles for numerous different places. You can see my articles on American Partisan. You can see them on Prepper Broadcasting. I've written so many ghostwriting articles for various tactical blogs that I can't name because they're ghost articles. But my work is a lot of places. Is a lot of places, man. So I doing the gun stuff and the security stuff for so long. I kind of got burnt out after a little while because there was a lot of politics in the gun community, not just in the world of guns, with actual politics, but there's, people that don't like each other and people that do, and, local spats and tiffs. So I needed a break from it, So I decided to take a break from gunsmithing for a while, and actually been doing mental health. I know, right? Complete 180.
Whatever. That's cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I've been doing mental health for I don't know, about a year and a half. Just to see if I could help other people. I help people with PTSD. I help SMI people. I'm a behavioral health paraprofessional, so I help out with that stuff. But I know myself, and I know it won't be long before I'm back in the gun and security world. But I figure the training with mental health and mental states will definitely be helpful in that world.
Absolutely. So how did you get into, I'm sure it was just kind of a occupational hobby at that point, but how did you get into lock picking and evasion and all that kind of stuff?
Oh man. So that's interested me ever since I was a little kid. I don't know, like I'm sure like a lot of your listeners, I probably, I grew up, wanting to get into things that I shouldn't be getting into.
Oh yeah, we just called that climbing fences. But anyway, that's another story.
So I always, growing up, I looked at locks and I thought, like there's got to be a way through that, right?
Yeah.
And I, started to learn about, locksmiths and stuff like that. And I'm no certified locksmith, not by any means, but once I got old enough and was able to afford buying lockpick sets and stuff like that, I was getting as many locksmithing tools as I could get, and just practicing on any lock and every lock I could get my hands on. And like I said, I'm not like a lockpicking lawyer on YouTube. I'm not that.
Oh yeah, whatever.
I try my best to open any lock I can, anytime I can. For example, at work, the nurses will routinely lock themselves out of their offices and they'll go, Dane, come open this door.
That's awesome.
So, I'll pick the lock on their office, or I'll just use a UDT to open it up. It just depends.
And what is that?
But yeah, that under the door tool.
Yep.
Yeah. You can get them from like Sparrow Lockpicks or Red Team Tools, one of those places. But yeah, man, it's just, it's something that I've always been interested in. And now that, I have a little bit of money here and there, I tend to buy and get as many tools as I can to practice what I can. I've learned a lot about, getting into various areas I shouldn't, but the places that I'm concentrating on the most right now is vehicles. And most vehicles you can just pop out the window, like pop it out a little bit with like a air wedge and just unlock them that way. But I want to know more about the locks themselves and the ignition and all that. So
that's cool. Yeah, I remember when the chipped keys first started coming out, and they'd bring them to us to cut at the hardware store, and I was always so nervous because they're like $200, and So I gotta okay. Kind of had an ulterior motive for bringing you on because I told you about it though, so you know. But I I on occasion have to go in and secure abandoned properties people walk away from after they've decided they're not going to pay their mortgage, so they walk away. So then the bank or the property companies call me and say, "Hey Tim, you need to go change the locks. Make sure the house is empty. Change the locks." I do it. I don't know, 8 or 10 times a year. And one time I stood there for about half hour, 45 minutes drilling out a lock. Finally stepped through the door, and as I did, my wife is in the kitchen already. So she went and checked the unlocked door on the deck, and I just assumed that all the doors were locked. So
of course. Yes.
Now I deal with mostly residential locks. Do you guys have Wiser in the States still, or was that just a Canadian thing? Do you know Wiser locks? Anyway, doesn't matter. They're very similar. They're a WR3 key. Anyway, they're similar to a quick set, very similar to a quick set anyway. So, and I've bought a bunch of junk online, like the little vibrating, it almost looks like a mini screwdriver, it's like
like a toothbrush,
I had no luck with that. So where does one start? What you'd like to be able to do is get into a residential house if you've locked yourself out or you need to change the locks without being destructive.
Okay, so if it was me, first I would look and see, is the deadbolt locked? If the deadbolt's locked, you will probably have to pick it. Hopefully, like I'd say 90% of deadbolts are just basic deadbolts, okay?
Yep.
Drilling them can be a problem. Like if you look inside the lock and you see like a piece of metal, like the first pin's steel, chances are you're going to have a hell of a time with that, right?
I have, yes.
Right? get them carbide drill bits out and actually get in there, right?
Yep.
So one thing that you'll want to look at is check something like that. But generally, to get through deadbolts, first of all, to practice, you want to practice, right? So go down to your local thrift store and buy as many old deadbolts out of their little bin. They have all those, locks in.
Yep.
Get those things out of their housing and practice as much as you can. But generally, most of those locks aren't going to have any kind of real security features like a much thinner keyway or like security pins. You know about security pins, right?
Yes. Yep. I do. I watched lockpicking
so on and so on.
Yeah.
Okay. So most of them aren't going to have that stuff in them. Like I said, like 90%, 85%. But for me, the way that I do it is I just try to find what stuff is the most common in my area or the places I'm going. Like if I was you and I was securing property, I'd be looking at, okay, every single one of these places has a Schlage lock on it or a quick set or something like that. Right.
Exactly.
So I'd be looking at all of that. Like, okay, how many of these places, go over to my friend's house. What kind of deadbolt does he have? Go over to my mom's house or my aunt's house or whatever. Keep looking in those areas that you're in to see what's most common. Now, if you've got security pins, well, that's a whole other problem. That's going to take a little bit more than just your average kind of lock picking. But what I like to do the most for me, I like raking. Raking is pretty much the best way for me. What about you?
Oh, that's great. I mean, I have had almost no luck with this yet. So do you have where does one get a raking tool that actually works? Because the stuff I've bought has been junk.
Okay. So what you want, at least for me, the ones that I like to use are from Southern Ordnance, South Ord. You ever heard of them? Okay. So South Ord or Sparrow's lock picks, either one of those. What you're looking for is a type of lock pick called a Bogota pick, Bogota, like the Bogota, Colombia.
Okay.
So you want the Bogota type picks, or Bogota, I guess, if you want to pronounce it like it's in Colombia. But those picks, for me, as far as raking goes, I mean, you've got like single hump, double hump, triple hump. You've got some that have a little bit of standoff. You have multiple different types of them, but those ones, for me, for my money, I go back to those things over and over and over again. If you can't come across one of those, get yourself a snake pick or a wave pick. And those are going to be amazing for you too, because when it comes to raking, you're doing that either that in and out or that circular up and rake motion in the back, up, rake back, up, rake back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those work really, really well. Now, the other thing you're going to want to take a look at as far as deadbolts go, if you can find yourself a plug spinner, that would be an ideal tool to have. Okay. A lot of people, when they're picking deadbolts, they're actually holding tension in the wrong direction. So they'll end up, kind of sort of picking it, and then the lock just stops because they're trying to turn it the wrong direction.
Right.
So you can either buy a plug spinner, so you can get those on any lock picking website, or you can kind of like put your hand up to the lock, and this is a very easy, kind of poor man's way to do it, right?
Yeah.
But to the lock, like you're trying to unlock it, and you look, okay, which way would I turn this to unlock it, right?
Right. Typically away from the jam, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's 100% it, man. So that's how I do that stuff mostly. When it comes to like a door handle, because they always have a door handle and a deadbolt, or mostly they have a door handle and a deadbolt. Both are going to be locked. So depending on if it has the dead latch on the inside, some have a dead latch, some don't. But I like Lloyding, where you slip the like a small shim or something in there, like a credit card or whatever, and just pop that thing open.
I did that a lot in high school, unofficially, and I was good at it until it had that night latch. And then I started running into those. I was like, shit, that doesn't work very well.
Yeah, those can be a bit of a pain in the ass. But yeah, if you can pull that off, it's great. There's a lot of really good tools for that. One of the tools, I'd have to look up what it's called. There's a bunch of places that make them, but let's see, oscardelta.co.uk. They make a lot of escape and evasion gear, but they also make a lot of entry gear.
Okay.
And one of my favorite tools for Lloyding that they make, let's see, it's called the luggage tag. That's like a shove knife, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those things are amazing. There's another one that I made and I posted. Did you see the picture of it that I posted on Prepper Broadcasting Network chat?
Yep.
Yeah, that one is actually I redesigned it for my own purposes, but I'll have to find who actually made the original and get you the information. But those work extremely well.
So now we've got right now about 10 questions. So are you okay with just kind of working our way through the questions, and we can see how far we make it?
Sure, man, I'm down.
All right. So
holy wow, that's a lot.
We got a lot. Yeah. Piping. Okay. I think it's piping. I've never really asked him, but anyway, I'm going to go with piping. Pipenized or pippinized. Says suggestions for locks that are anti-pick or pick resistant.
So that one takes time, man. When you have pick resistant or anti-pick locks, basically what you're going to run into is those like serrated pins or a small keyway, something like that. Or you might even run into, like, have you ever seen, you guys don't have the U.S. Postal Service up there, but sometimes like the U.S. Postal Service locks for post office boxes and stuff, if you look at the key, you'll see that it only has like 4 or 5 pins on it, maybe 4 pins. But the back side of the key, like the back half inch, has no cuts in it at all. So the pins are way forward in the lock. So trying to pick it is just a pain in the butt. so it just takes time and practice, man.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, at least for me.
No, that's all right. Yeah, because that's the way the locks up here are, or at least the ones we have in our town are very much the same with pins toward the front. And I can imagine it makes it kind of difficult. Now,
if you're looking to buy an anti-pick or like a pick resistant lock, the Medico, I think Maxis is my favorite. I think they call it Maxis, if I remember correctly. It's been so long since I messed with that thing. Maxim. Medico Maxim.
Okay.
Medico is one of the better companies out there. Now, granted, they are pretty expensive, but I'm poor, so
no, it's all right.
I like Medico.
Yeah.
So, but that's if that's what Mr. Pippin was asking about.
I think so. Yeah, that's a good start for sure. As far as if there's are there certain brands that tend to be a little more pick resistant
Tough.
or better quality?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it depends on how much you want to spend, man. Like lockpicking lawyer, of course, he shows so many different types of locks on there, man. It's crazy. But yeah, dude, that's the way I look at it anyway. Let's see. The Pippinized, is that his name?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with Pippinized.
Okay. Door frames and the possible weaknesses and where the deadbolt locks into. Usually a 2x4 door frame. Okay. So I'm not sure if he's asking how to like toughen these up or if he's asking where the weaknesses are. If you're asking to like how to toughen these up, 3-inch screws, 3-inch screws, 3-inch screws.
Yep.
If you've got a 2x4 door frame that is connecting to more 2x4s that are inside the wall that are going to be like up against a door switch or something like that. If you pop most of the screws that go into like a hinges or the strike plate or something like that, or even the hinges. Oh, wait, I said that already. Hinges.
That's okay.
Yeah. So most of the screws are not very deep. So if you pop in really, really deep, like 3-inch screws, 2.5-inch, even 3.5-inch screws, that will massively upgrade the security on that door. I think that if you're talking about the weaknesses in a normal door frame, it depends on how tightly it's fitted. Like we were talking about loading earlier, that's a big weakness. But one of the biggest ones that I see is the under the door. Okay, like the under the door tool.
Okay.
Those are really, really nice to use depending on the type of latch you're dealing with or type of knob or whatever is on the other side of that door. You can sometimes use those to open doors, especially in business areas, especially in office buildings and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the way that I look at it. The other area that I would consider to be weak is with doors with hinges that are exposed. Now you can get security hinges, of course, but you can get a hinge removal tool and pop those things out so fast if the hinges are on the outside. It's not even funny.
Those little spring loaded ones that you just pull back and pop up.
You got it, man. Yep. Exactly like that. They look like a glass breaker or something like that.
Yeah.
Those things work like a charm.
I've had my eye on them for a while. They just in straight up legal work, they come in handy quite a bit too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. And if you do a lot of carpentry, you can get the one that sets nails for you too. Just little nail set.
How about different states and laws while carrying lockpicking tools? Now, I know this isn't legal advice, but do you know if in any area people need to be concerned about being caught with that on their person?
Okay, so from what I've read, at least in Arizona, and I would assume that this is true for a lot of places, like, of course, we all know what happens when you assume, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I told my kids that.
Yes, sir. But from what I've seen, a lot of the law enforcement guys that I've known, as far as the laws go, there's a law here in Arizona called it has to do with burglary tools. Okay. And let's say that you're a carpenter or you're you do demolition for a living. You demo houses. Okay. You have a sledgehammer and a crowbar in your truck, for doing demolition. Now, those are just tools until you use them for a burglary. Right. Then they become burglary tools. Okay. Same thing, the way Arizona looks at it, the same thing with lock picks. You're a locksmith or you just do lock sport for fun. Until you use them for some sort of illegal activity, they're nothing more than a piece of metal. They're then nothing more than
something that they can pad the charges with at that point.
Exactly. They become a quote unquote burglary tool. Okay.
Right.
So that's the gist of the legality that I know on it. As long as you're not using it for something nefarious, it doesn't really matter. And there are multiple ways that you can conceal them.
Okay.
Also, like you can get the titanium ones from Searpick, and I braided a whole bunch of those into lanyards that are on my keychain. It's
Great
not
idea.
hard to do. Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking about selling those at one point. I've made so many lock picks for people. It's but anyways, you just braid them into there, or I like to take those small picks and I'll sew them into my baseball caps inside the sweatband, or
Ooh, okay.
make a small pouch for my watch band and pop them in there, or cut the tongue of my shoe and slide them into there. I mean, the titanium is non-magnetic, so it's not going to show up on a metal detector. It will potentially show up on a density detector or a backscatter X-ray if you're going through an airport or something like that.
Sure.
But I'm not sure what the legality of taking lockpicks on an airplane is. They're not really like a weapon, so I don't think they'd have a problem with them. But you'd have to check your local area on that.
Okay. So it comes down to intention, suspect, and what they catch you doing at that time in most instances, I'm guessing.
Yeah, at least that's what I've seen anyway.
Sure. How about
definitely not legal advice?
No. Everybody
right?
knows here that the drunken ramblings of the workshop are never legal advice. We know this. So, how about lock picking in a shit hits the fan scenario? What do you think? Because of course, I don't know if you read much prepper porn. I read tons of it, and there's always a lock pick. There's always a guy who's like, "Hey, just wait," and he pulls his shit out of his belt, and he's like, and he goes, right?
Yeah, sure. So in an SHTF scenario, there's very few scenarios that you're going to run into, at least in my opinion, where if it's SHTF, why wouldn't you just stick your foot right through the door? You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you just,
sure.
Yeah. Like I have a Halligan tool and multiple double tap sledgehammers. They're extendable. They have titanium handles. They're used by SWAT teams for entry.
Okay.
I have a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't have, but I do. So I would just take a crowbar or a Halligan tool and stick it right into the door frame, right? Maybe above or below, probably above the deadbolt. Smack that thing into the lock a few times, dude, or right above the lock there, and just pry it right open, dude. It would take maybe a few seconds. If you ever want to see it, watch a firefighter do it. They're coming through that door, dude.
Is that the one that has? It looks like a beefy crowbar with two kind of teeth on it, or is it just one that you? Yeah. Okay. Those are cool, and they can get them behind the lock and twist them sometimes too if they need to.
Absolutely. There's a couple different designs, but ZAK Tools, ZAK, they're a really good company for that. Double Tap Tools, they make some really good ones. Even 511 makes some pretty nice ones. So any of those companies, and I recommend that every prepper has a Halligan tool and a sledgehammer. Failing that, get yourself one of them old school Stanley Foo bars. I don't know if you've ever seen those before.
Yes.
Those things are amazing, dude. The big ones, the big, long 36-inch ones.
Ones you can use for rearranging floor joists or making floor joists behave,
Yes, sir. Those things are amazing for going through doors, windows, even a wall, dude. So that's the thing. In an SHTF scenario, if I went into a door, man, I might even just decide to opt to go right through the wall next to it. I mean, it depends. Now, I will say are scenarios where you don't want anyone to know that you've been there. Okay.
Right.
So if that's the case, then I'm carrying my my Searpick, the company Searpick, SEREPICK, Searpick. I'm carrying my my Pagoda picks from them. They're itty bitty. They're maybe 2 inches long, and they've got a Pagoda pick on one side and a tension tool on the other, all in one piece. There's two of them, titanium.
Okay.
One is a single hump, the other one's a triple hump. So I'm carrying those with me, hidden somewhere on me. I'm carrying multiple handcuff keys and stuff like that, but those are going to be my basic tools to get into almost anything that is reasonable to get into. Okay. That, and I carry a small lloyding tool. And I might, the loading tool can do what a shove knife can do, but I might carry a shove knife on me too if I need a little bit more um, reach, if you will. That might be the thing. But yeah, generally in an SHTF scenario. Oh, and one more thing I would carry with me would be a padlock shims. Have you ever seen those before?
Yeah, yeah. Like you can make them out of a Coke can too sometimes, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You carry those things with you, a couple different sizes. Man, you're going to get through most things.
Just for the record, guys, I will go back and get his list and I will post it afterwards because that is awesome. I was going to ask you at the end if you can only, if you can only carry a kit or a couple of tools all the time, what would it be? And I think you just outlined it, didn't you?
Yeah. There's a couple more things that I have in there. In fact, if you want, I'll just take a picture.
Okay.
I carry an ITS SPI kit, SPIE, ITS imminations.
Yep.
I carry one of their SPI SPIE kits, and it has all kinds of stuff in it. So I'll take a picture of that and send it to you, and you can send it to all your people, dude. It's got like a small ceramic razor in it, sear compass, handcuff shims, all kinds of shit, dude. And it's maybe 3 inches, 2.5 inches long by maybe 1.5 wide. It's really itty bitty. So
nice. And was that a self-contained kit you bought, or is it pieces you put together?
It's pieces I put together. I bought the actual case, the ballistic nylon case from ITS, and then I put all my own stuff in it.
Okay. Awesome. That's cool. That'll be huge. Yeah, send that along. I'd love to. And I'll make sure, obviously, we'll send it out and let people know. That'd be great.
Yeah.
How about, what do we got here? Helping a neighbor get into their house. How do you, if you got a neighbor that comes by, knocks on your door and says, "Hey, Dane, yeah, I did it again." Or where do you start for that attack? What do you look for?
Well, for me, I use the same kind of method a burglar would use, right? Look for the path of least resistance. Same with you?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I do now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, dude. Yeah. My wife's done the same thing to me before too, man. Like you think, oh, I got this, and then she does something. You're like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I always look for the path of least resistance. Check all the doors, check all the windows, check and see if there's any easy ways in. Ask them, hey, did your neighbor have a key like over down below you or on the side of you? Obviously, I don't have one. Does your family live close by? Do they have a key? But if it's an emergency, like they left the stove on, something like that, or their animals inside, something like that. Sorry, I had to get a drink.
That's okay.
I'd be heading for my Bogota tools or my snake picks or my wave picks. And generally, when people walk out of their house, it's always going to be their door lock on the bottom, the handle.
Yes.
Right? It's not going to be a really complicated. It's not like they're going to lock their deadbolt and their knob when they walk out of the house, right? So a shove knife, even like a luggage tag, a credit card, you can see if you can Lloyd it. If not, most of those doorknobs don't have like security pins in them. So you should be able to rake that thing open or even zip it open. That should be, either one of those should work.
And what does zip it open mean? Without
okay. Like, you know what raking is, right?
Yep, I do. Where you go back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. So zipping is basically the same thing, except you just pull it out. Okay. Like a zipper, you just pull it out while you're holding tension, and then you push it back in, bring it up, and then zip it right out, dude. Instead of going in, out, like a piston, you're just pulling out. That's where your tension's coming from. Kind of like the reverse of a bump key. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So while you're talking about bump keys, are they still a viable option?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, there's a lot of locks out there that are still, people don't like to change their locks. People don't like to call a locksmith. People don't like to do that stuff. So I think the bump keys are still a very viable option. And it's not overly difficult to carry a couple of them with you. My bump keys are in my extended kit that stays in my truck most of the time.
Okay.
If I need it, along with like a bump hammer. But I don't find myself using them very often, to be honest with you. If I'm opening locks, especially at work, like I've had to open locks on trash cans, I've had to open locks on offices, I've had to open locks to med rooms, I've had to open all kinds of different locks around the office. Some of them that you would think would be extremely high security are not. Okay. So I've opened all of those with Bogota picks.
Okay.
I never needed the bump key. So just for whatever that's worth.
Where is I got a bunch. This is a question for me at this point. What is the best resource online for learning these kind of rudimentary lockpicking skills?
One of the best resources I have found, obviously Lockpicking Lawyer is one of the better ones out there. I like him. Let's see. I like to read a lot too. So like like lockpicks.com. They're a really good one. I like their stuff. And then Lock Noob. That's who I couldn't think of how to freaking say his name. Yeah, Lock Noob. He is really, really good on YouTube. But honestly, man, the best way to learn, and I hope this doesn't upset anyone, but the best way to learn is to do it, man. It really, really is. You can look at it academically all you want. It's like gunsmithing. You got to screw some shit up before you get it right, man. Like you got to do it, dude.
We've got a bunch over on Telegram as well. And Chris Dixon says that Tannerite will open a lot of doors, just in case you're wondering. So,
yeah, it might be a little loud, but you'll get in. I mean, SHTF, right? I'm going right through.
And also says that nothing beats actual experience. And also said that like breaking into a car, oftentimes breaking the smallest window ends up being the most expensive way. So
always, man, always, isn't it always the truth?
Okay.
I see here people are talking about 3-inch screws. Yep, that works absolutely wonderfully, man.
How about picking? Okay, Rachel Brown wants to know about padlocks. What's the best attack for those? Destructive, non-destructive, that kind of thing.
For me, I prefer the padlock shims. Those are some of the best ones. But for it depends on the type of padlock. If you've got a warded padlock, I like to just use the warded picks, man. It's extremely easy just to stick the warded pick in there and just turn that, and it opens right up, man. One of these days we're gonna have to do one where like I can bring out all the stuff that I have and all the padlocks and various deadbolts and just show you, look, here's how I open this one. Here's how I open this. Because I don't have anywhere near what guys like, Lockpicking Lawyer in the comments just mentioned Bosnian Bill. That guy's amazing. That's another really, really good YouTube.
Yeah, he retired,
Yeah, from what I hear.
Yeah, which his age he wanted to, but yeah, I loved him. He'd do a lot more in depth. And the one thing I find about Lockpicking Lawyer is he goes so fast, and he's such a he's not a teacher per se. He just kind of wants to show the vulnerabilities, I guess, is kind of my thoughts,
Yeah, it's like, well, exactly. He's like, this is vulnerable. Look what I can do. Bam, and like, okay, well, how did he do that? And then I want to find out how he did it, right? So, yeah, it's definitely Bosnian Bill, Lock Noob, guys like that. They're showing the inner workings, how this works, and so on, man. So,
what about automotive lockpicking?
Oh, geez, man. Like
I know we're only touching. Yeah, we're just touching on all these things. Just trying to get a few good questions out of you here. So, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. So, as far as automotive stuff goes, I tend to stick. Like my mom called me about a month ago because she had locked her keys inside her car, and all I did was take my my Southward air wedge over there, pop it into the window, just kind of slide it into the window, man, pump it up a little bit just to get enough room in the window so I can pop one of my full-length rods in there that I have and just click the little unlocker, dude. That's the easiest way for me to get into vehicles. That's how I do.
And there's
air wedge and a long rod. That's it.
I used wood wedges before too. They're not ideal because they can damage if you're not careful. But I got to try one of those air wedge. What do you call them? The air. I have one.
Air wedge.
Air wedge. Yeah. They're great.
Air wedge. Yep. And you can actually buy those air wedges at like Home Depot and stuff too. They have them for getting underneath a door if you need to make adjustments to a door or shim a door, you know, when you're setting one inside of its frame. They have those as well. And that's something else to mention as well. If you were looking at for doors vulnerabilities, an air wedge under the door to give you some room for an under the door tool, or maybe a hinge attack or something to offset the lock to allow you to actually get in there and Lloyd that thing. There's a lot of freaking options, but definitely have that air wedge available to you.
Cool. How about Renegade Butcher says, talk about when it's the right time to pick a lock and when it makes more sense to bypass the lock in other ways.
Okay. Let's see. So I always try to do the fastest, most expedient thing possible first. If I can Lloyd it, yeah, I'm going to Lloyd it. I'm going to go right through, you know. Did you see that video that I put on Prepper Broadcasting on the chat that we have among us, that I just popped it right through, pulled that tool that I made through?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if I can do that, I'm going to do that. You know, I'm going to Lloyd that thing and get right through it. If that doesn't work, I'm going to switch over to my picks, and I'm going to switch to those Bogota picks every single time. If those don't work, I'm going to start looking at other options, something that might go a little bit deeper. I had one scenario where I don't know if you've ever seen this on a like a deadbolt key or even like a doorknob key, but what you'll see is, let's say it has 6 pins, okay, that are cut into the key, and you know that the cuts are different heights. If it's a bump key, the cuts are all the way down the lowest possible setting, like a 9 or whatever on the key. So this lock that I was going up against, I was using the triple hump pick. And you okay?
Oh yeah, we're good. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So I was going up against this lock, and I was using this triple hump Bogota pick, and it just wouldn't go. It wouldn't go. I could feel a few of the pins set, and I'm like, okay, cool. You know, it's going past the shear line. It's setting. I'm about to turn this thing, and then it would stop. And I'm like, what the hell? Why won't it go? So I just kept trying. It wouldn't do. And then I finally switched over to a single hump Bogota, and I started kind of going slower and setting the pin, set the pin. And then the final pin was a really deep one. It was like a 9 or an 8, extremely deep. The first pin, the one closest to you. Okay. So like, if you ever seen this on a key, all the pins in the front will be really shallow, like just barely cut into the key. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
And then the one closest to like the flag, or the part you would touch with your fingers for the average person, that cut is so freaking deep. It is the deepest it can go, or right above that, right? So when you're trying to get a rake in there or something, by the time that you set the pins that are in the back, the shaft of your tool is screwing up, or basically not setting the front pin there. So it makes it extremely difficult. You almost have to use like one of those finger picks. You know what I'm talking about?
Where you like one pin at a time? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I call them a finger pick, but I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just a matter of, if you're not having any success trying one thing, then change your method and try something different.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, everybody's going to kind of pull up what they like and what they feel comfortable doing. I carry around, when I'm at work, just for practice, when I'm on lunch, or when I'm sitting there talking to a client, you know, they're telling me about what's going on. I'll be sitting there just raking locks or trying to do single pin picking while I'm talking to them. You know, they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, just, you know, fidget tool, just a fidget toy." You know, like, "Oh, okay." You know, most people don't know what I'm doing, so it doesn't really matter. You know, I'm just trying to fix this lock for my mom, you know, or something like that. But the more practice you get, the better.
What about, I've been seeing this on TikTok a lot lately, card readers or electronic cards, like for either, you know, apartment access or hotel access. There seems to be a lot of those machines that will clone the older style ones. Have you had any experience with them at all, or no?
No, I have not had any experience with those, but I can direct you to the right place to get that experience.
Okay.
I don't have the money to take their course. Red Team Alliance,
Okay.
RTA, Red Team Alliance. They're based out of Phoenix. Their class is like, I think it's $4,000 for 5 days.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a hit. It's a hit right to the wallet, man. But they will teach you the basic lockpicking stuff that we're already talking about. They'll teach you exploits for card readers. They'll teach you double door exploits, under the door tool. They'll teach you how to get the electronic locks to disengage with CO2. All
Wow.
kinds of stuff, man. Yeah, they're like infrared locks, how to disengage those. All kinds of stuff, dude. These guys are freaking amazing. Red Team Alliance.
I added
Um,
that to the chat so people can see for sure.
Yeah, the one of the owners of it is named Deviant Olam, Ollam.
Okay.
Um, I think his website, if I remember correctly, he changed it at one point, but I believe his website now is deviating.net.
I think I've
And he
seen that.
has some of
Okay.
the coolest crap. Yeah, dude, he has some of the coolest stuff on there that you've ever seen. So yeah, check that dude out. Check out Red Team Alliance. Hopefully, if I can ever afford it, I'll see you in the class.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that yeah. What about Pippin wants to know, should you change lock tumblers every few years? Or let me ask
Well,
you this too. Have you had any experience with the smart locks where you can rekey them yourself?
yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with those. My brother recently moved, and we played around with some of the smart locks, some of the quick set smart locks. They're pretty good. They're pretty decent. It depends on how much experience you have with them. Um, if you have the right equipment, heck yeah, man. In fact, every couple of years, even every year or every 2 years, I would definitely try to change out your cylinder, and pop in a couple of security pins, or at least change the settings on them, the
Okay.
pin height. At least change that stuff, or pop in a couple of security pins. That definitely helps. The serrated ones are my favorite, but you can do whichever ones you find to work best for you.
Oh, we have been, you're not going to believe this. We've been almost 44 minutes already. And I know I promised you 45, but if you got time for,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
you got time
I
for
got I
one
got
more?
time for a couple more. Yeah.
Okay. Hunter wants to know about lock maintenance. Anything important along with that you need to worry about with lock maintenance?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. So when it comes to lock maintenance, one thing you want to make sure of is that you're lubricating that lock. Okay, and please, for the love of God, do not spray WD-40 in there or any other kind of oil. Okay, please don't do that. Okay, because eventually it's going to gum up and it's going to make it very, very difficult. Okay, so what you want to use is that powdered graphite. Okay,
Okay.
powdered graphite is a great lubricant. It's dry. Dry lubricants are ideal for this. What happens if it gets gummed up or if it's not lubricated properly is some of the pins will actually stick above the shear line. Basically, the block itself ends up only having 2 pins instead of 6 or 5 that you
Okay.
actually have to defeat. Okay, so make sure that your locks are properly lubricated. That's a big one, man. Maybe I would look at that stuff once a year, maybe, give or take, depending on the environment you're in. That's what I would do.
Okay. That's great.
Oh,
We've been 40. Let's, yeah. Do me a favor, Dane, and tell everyone how they can find you, what you do on a regular basis, and how people can support you by listening to whatever you put out.
yeah, man, that's awesome. Okay, so I have my own podcast on Prepper Broadcasting Network, just like Tim here. Mine is called the Gunmetal Armory. Lately, I've been doing a lot of World War II behind enemy lines stuff, how to operate and stuff like that. And I've also done some modern stuff like on ambushes and things like that, how to do that stuff. So my podcast is Gunmetal Armory. You can email me at gunmetalarmory@gmail.com. I also have my own website called Gunmetal LLC. You can find me there. I have 2 classes that I teach. When I fill them up, one class is called SHTF Gunsmithing, and it is where we take you through the ins and outs of understanding, what things you're going to need to maintain and take care of on your guns. If there's like an SHTF type situation, we're going to basically teach you the underground gunsmithing tips. Okay. We're going to take you in there, show you this stuff, head spacing, gunsmithing basics, trigger jobs, troubleshooting. We'll go through the AR-15, the AK, the Glock, 1911s, all kinds of different stuff. We go through a lot, man, in a couple of days. The other class I teach is called Civilian Tradecraft, and it's approaching the tradecraft stuff from a civilian standpoint. Basically, we go through various techniques on escape and evasion, escaping restraints, SDRs, any kind of surveillance techniques, safe house builds, basic barrier and lock breaching, caches, dead drops, so on and so forth. We go through all that kind of stuff.
How long's that course?
That one is 2 days as well, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. And what do they cost?
Let's see. I think I had one that was, they're both $300.
Nice. And
I thought I had changed them, but they're $300 each.
And how many people do you need signed up to do it?
I've done it with as little as 5 students, but we generally tend to prefer to have at least 8.
Okay.
So, but I would do it for 5, especially if it was like a couple of guys that were just friends, or, a couple of guys that were family or something. They're like, hey, we'd like to know what you know, and, so on and so forth. So
I'm just thinking it might be something to organize through the workshop community here at some point to get a bunch of people together and do it. I think I would like that. Either one would be great, but that'd be really cool.
Absolutely, man. I'd be honored, dude. I think that'd be really fun. The other thing that I'm working on right now, and I'll tell your workshop community here, it's something I'm working on, but I haven't put together fully yet. I'm looking at putting together an online SHTF gunsmithing course for something that you can literally get onto Skype or any of these other streaming platforms, and I show you all this stuff online that I can. You go, hey, I've got my AR-15. How do I do a trigger job on it? Okay, here's what you do. I'm gonna show you right now in my shop, and you're gonna do it while I'm doing it with you on camera. Cool. So that's what I'm trying to put together, man. Hopefully it'll work out. I think you guys will really enjoy it if I get it all put together just right.
So is the current SHTF one, is that something that you teach live but over the internet, or does it have to be in person at this point?
Has to be in person. There's so much that we go over, and
I get it.
Various different guns that we go through. Yeah, we have it in person, but that's the hard part about the web stuff is like, oh man, if I could do it online, dude. Is if each person has the guns or access to the guns that I'd be working on, or even the parts that we would be talking about and maintaining, that would be extremely helpful, and we could tailor that class to help that person, no problem, or that team of people.
That's cool. Yeah, that you got it. Yeah, you got to have something online. That'd be awesome. That'd be an easy sell and an easy support. I got some friends that run courses and stuff that I could probably hook you up with at some point. So when you get ready to push it, let me know, and we will support you through here. I promise.
Oh, I love that, man. Thank you so much, dude.
No problem. Anything else? That we've got your podcast and your courses there. And if somebody wants to contact you directly, what's the easiest way for someone to contact you?
So the easiest way to contact me is going to be gunmetalarmory@gmail.com. All one word, Gunmetal Armory. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, just gunmetalarmory@gmail.com. And there's also, if you have gunsmithing questions, I mean, obviously, legal disclaimer, you do what you do with your own guns. Like, I'm not your doctor. I don't play one on TV, right? But if you have gunsmithing questions, dude, I'll help you out, man. I'll do my best. I don't want people to make a mistake and hurt themselves. So if you have questions about firearms or something like that, or even questions on, lock picking, stuff like that, feel free to message me, dude. I'll do the best I can. If you want the big explanation, like the whole thing where you can pretty much ask me a bunch of questions, you got to wait till I come back on Tim's podcast again.
That'd be great. I'd love it. We'll have you back maybe in the new year if you're up for it.
Love it, man. I'd love to.
Perfect. Well, if you want to hang for a second in the background, Dane, I'm just going to close up and I'll be right back with you if you're good.
You got it, buddy.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
So, guys, I hope that was awesome. I knew it was going to be a whirlwind tour of lock picking. I know we just touched the tops of the mountains and some of this stuff. We will have Dane back to do a deeper dive, probably more than once, I can just imagine, because he is a fountain of information. Loved having him on. Great guy to talk to. It was nice to finally have an quote-unquote in-person conversation with the dude, but make sure you support him. If you're not, I mean, I tell you guys all the time, support Prepper Broadcast Network, but if you're not listening to his stuff, he just a stand-up dude. So do what you can, give him some workshop love, and we will have him back again. So guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.